Hi, welcome to my channel. My name's Farzan Misbahi and I worked at Tesla for 4 years, ending my career as a program manager. In today's video, I'll be answering your questions. A few days ago, I created a video celebrating our 1,000 subscription mark, which was completely nuts. We reached that in 2 weeks. And now we're a little over 5,300 subs 4 or 5 days later. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. And now I want to take all the questions you asked on that video and I'm going to answer them for you. So let's go. All right, first one. Pete asks, question. You mentioned that Tesla enabled financial independence for your family. Congrats. Thank you. What is your strategy to live from your wealth without selling Tesla shares? I'm in a similar situation. I would love to hear your perspective. Great question. So the way we approached it, or the way, I'm approaching it, I guess. We have a nice cash savings in our bank account that's gonna allow us to cover all of our expenses, our travel and everything like that for at least the next year or so. And then the plan is within that year, we wanted to use the time to really pursue our passions and figure out what we wanted to work on. And then the thought process was those passions would enable some sort of additional income. In addition to that, we also have real estate, which generates rental income. So that's helping obviously pay for a few things as well. Now, the reality is at some point we may have to sell a tiny amount of shares to cover some of the expenses we want to do or some of the investments we want to go after. So really the plan for the next few years is to definitely not touch the Tesla shares ever. And so yeah, we'll see how that plan works out. I'll let you know. All right, next question. Eric asks, I'm glad the algorithm recommended your first video and I subscribed immediately. I have a great deal of interest in understanding to what degree Tesla is driven by standard business objectives, so dollars plus market domination, versus their mission to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy. Well, thank you very much for watching my videos. I really appreciate that. And that's a really good question. So I would say a large amount of focus is around the mission aspect. So market domination and generating a lot of profit is definitely not, from what I saw, a huge emphasis. Now we were very much encouraged to lower costs everywhere we could so that we could generate more profit for sure. But by and large, the team is largely focused on creating the best possible product so that customers are as happy as they could be while making sure that we're accelerating the advent of sustainable transport. And so there's definitely a balancing act in there, but it was very much weighed very heavily towards making sure we're driving the mission forward. Okay, next question. Pete asks, what are the typical backgrounds of the best people you work with in Tesla? Traditional education or self-taught? First job or mid-career? Much of a difference in what you see across SpaceX versus Tesla? Much movement between the two companies? Yeah, so for that one, I haven't really had any exposure to any SpaceX employees while I was there on the service side, so I can't really comment on that. But really the first part of the question around what kind of backgrounds, they're massively varied. Really the biggest thing that I took away is that talent exists in all industries. And Tesla seems to be the great aggregator of talent. So they're not really trying to go after a certain industry to grab their talent from. They just want people that show exceptional capabilities around problem solving, thinking about problems from a first principles perspective, doing the right thing, being honest. And these are universal traits that really are across every industry. So it was very fascinating to see, and I think it's one of Tesla's biggest strengths. Okay, next question. Roman asks, you seem like a good team leader. Thank you, I appreciate that. Any more content along the lines of helping grow and lead a strong and cohesive team? Specifically along the lines of helping different and diverse personalities grow into their own strengths while still working toward a common goal. Thanks and look forward to more of your videos. Thank you very much. Great question. So I'm actually planning on doing a separate video for this altogether. I would say really the biggest things that stand out to me are empowering and making sure that you're connecting with the people on your team as human beings, not just there for work. I think that's extremely important. I think teams are much more capable when they see a leader that's connecting with them in some way, that's like, hey, you're not just here for work, you're a human being who has hopes and goals and dreams and want to achieve things. And so connecting with them in those, with those variables, it's extremely important. And they're just people, in the end, it doesn't matter if you're leading a team, you're just working with people. So being a servant leader is another really important thing where your job should essentially be to just remove every single obstacle possible for your team and to help them in any way that they need help, and then empowering them and trusting them to do the right thing and execute against the objectives of the team. But I'll have a much more detailed video on this in the coming days and weeks here. So thank you very much for your question. Another question from Pete again. Pete's got rock star questions, man. I remember Elon thanking the internal applications team at Tesla during one of the earnings calls. I'm a software dev and I think it says a huge amount about Tesla's vertical integration that so much of the internal software tools are custom. Can you share your experiences with internal software tools? What stack do they use? How frequently are they updated? How do they compare to other companies that you worked for? Can anyone build a dashboard in Tesla and hook into relevant data? Thanks. Great question. So here I don't want to give too much information just because I am under NDA and I want to be respectful of that. But I'll just sort of reinforce the things that have already been shared by Elon and maybe others. Quite a bit of software internally is internally developed, and the changes to these softwares are just as quick as anything else in Tesla. You know, Tesla's a very fast-moving company across all processes. It stands to reason that if they're developing something internally from a software perspective, they're going to be very, very quick in making the changes, adding functionalities, things like that. But as far as anyone having the access and being able to create a dashboard, that's not the case at all. There are obviously protections around certain data sets that not everybody's privy to. And obviously you also have a skill factor as well. Well, not everybody knows how to build dashboards, and there's permissions and all those things, right? But generally, if you are in a role that does use data and needs to hook into data sets, you are given quite a bit of freedom in how to interpret that data and you know, the dashboards to put together and how to best utilize that. But no, not everybody has access to make dashboards. All right, next question. There are a lot of YouTubers covering Tesla, but you are the only insider that I know of is doing it. As far as I know, I am too. Thanks for starting your channel. You're welcome. Question 1, what do you think about the new technologies being deployed in Berlin and Austin? Do you see it as an incremental improvement? Or do you think this will be a small revolution? So these are the castings, the 4680s, the structural pack. Yeah, so really I'm going off of the same information everyone else says here, you know, the battery day presentation and all the other things. Generally when Tesla implements a new thing, it's not usually incremental. It's pretty radical in its impact. And we saw that internally too. You know, we were very much encouraged to not make 10% improvements, but to make 50% improvements, 100% improvements, right? Seeing that with my own two eyes, I think it stands to reason that these changes would follow the same level of impact. You know, they should be 50% in impact or more. Maybe less in certain occasions, but everything points to much larger. I always tell people, do not underestimate just how much of an impact and how quickly Tesla can make when it comes to a change. And I don't think there would be any difference in those technologies in those locations. Second question, when do you think autopilot will be one-on-one with humans, when 10 times better, and when it will be commercially deployed for the first time? Yeah, I mean, this is just me spitballing here, and I'm not sort of using any internal information to make a decision here because I don't have any. I think one-on-one with humans will probably be, I think there's a chance for that to be next year, end of next year, maybe beginning of 2023. And that, I only say that because of my exposure to the full self-driving program internally and seeing all the videos that we've seen and the rate of change and the speed of change that's happening there, and the fact that you're going to have exponential change and improvement given the data sets that they're gathering and Dojo coming alive at some point and all those things. I think there is a chance that late next year, early 2023, full self-driving will be on par with an average human, let's call it. And then 10x better, maybe 2 years after that, something like that. And then as far as being commercially deployed for the first time, I want to say somewhere between 2023 and 2025. And the last question, when do you think Tesla will deploy bot for the first time and for what tasks? When do you see first commercial application outside Tesla? So I actually built a stock price model that covered the bot quite a bit, and I'll post the link for that on this video in the description below as well. I think the bot will first come out in 2025. I could be very wrong with that. And around that time, I think is when we'll start seeing uses of it outside of Tesla. So they're obviously going to be very small in scope, but it's going to be super fun to watch. Next question. It's easy to use agile and flat structure in small groups, harder in large companies. Do you think Tesla will succeed in keeping this working as it scales up? If so, what are they doing to ensure it? I really do think so. I think Tesla's culture is really built around moving as fast as humanly possible and just doing everything you can to iterate on anything that you're working on. I think that will continue honestly, for as long as Elon has a hand in that company. And for as long as the executive team that he has mentored is at that company. I don't see that changing. I think that team is very hands-on and they are very much understanding of what fundamentals the company has to have in order to continue to develop the way it's developing. I think easily for the next 10 to 20 years, barring any sort of massive change to the company's leadership structure. Next question. What was the most rewarding moment for you working at Tesla? Perhaps a difficult challenge that you helped resolve, or perhaps an idea you came up with and Tesla ran with it? Boy, there's a lot of these. I would say for me, and I don't want to go into too much detail, obviously, but there was a time where we were having a lot of difficulties around moving product out the door with high quality. And there was a change that was being pushed that would severely slow us down. And it's kind of ambiguous in how it would increase our quality. And I personally developed and implemented a process and a tool that would achieve both speed and quality. And it ended up working. And it made a tremendous difference. And it sort of like set the foundation for a brand new way of moving product around the network. Very proud of that. That was some of the most pressure I've ever been under, and I would consider that some of my best work. And so there's something to be said about working under ridiculous amounts of pressure. So yeah, I'm very proud of that. Next question. What do you think about Tesla's approach to full self-driving versus competitors? When do you think full self-driving will be robotaxi ready? Yeah, I think Tesla's approach is the right one, only because when you're thinking about safety, it makes a lot of sense from a first principle standpoint that you want to reduce accidents and fatalities as quickly as possible, and putting in a process that allows you to gather data as quickly as possible, like how Tesla's doing it, is correct. And it's not very different from how Tesla puts a lot of trust in their employees. They're putting trust in their customers to do the right thing, right? There's a lot of different things on that screen that say you're fully in control, that you're 100% in control of the thing, and it's empowering the customers to make the software better. It's very clear in what it can and can't do. So I think a lot of the news and whatever that are sort of hesitant about full self-driving, I just think it comes down to it's a new thing. Folks don't know how to interpret it. It's going to be very fundamentally different from everything else we've ever done as it pertains to transportation. So I can see how there could be a lot of fear and hesitancy around that, but I do think it's the right one. And really anything that we can do to move to a point where there are as little fatalities and crashes as possible is the right one. Net, it's saving more lives than anything else on the road. Why wouldn't we want to make that system as good as it can be and deploy it as fast as it can be? That's best for humanity, and we should do that. All right, next one. Thanks, Farzad. I've got some questions I could submit. One, why did you leave Tesla? So I actually have a video about this that I'll show the link for in the video and in the description below as well, where I go fully into detail as to why I left Tesla, so you should check that out. And then second, as a Pennsylvania native, or as a PA native, as us PAers like to say, where are you from and what did you and your wife do in your business before? Oh, thanks for asking that. So we lived in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, which is East Pennsylvania, it's in the Lehigh Valley area, right in between Allentown and Easton, about like 10-15 minutes from the New Jersey border. And we owned an escape room business, actually. We had an escape room in the Lehigh Valley called Human vs. Room. We had it for 4 years. It was super fun. And yeah, that was a blast. Next one. Congrats on the channel, great content. I really enjoyed it. And if okay with you, we'll use some things you previously said in a video I'm making about Tesla Agile. Hell yeah. I would love that. Thank you very much. My question, do you think Tesla is indeed trying to become the world's leading AI company? Do you think they'll indeed be in a leading position for solving bot and AGI? What makes you think so? Yes, I do think they will be the world's leading AI company. And the reason why that is because from what I've seen, Tesla will try to make everything themselves that they can as long as they have the bandwidth for it, right? So Tesla doesn't really shy away from bringing pieces internally. And I think Tesla has recognized that AI is going to be incredibly important in accelerating the advent of sustainable transport through whatever means, having AGI and robots that can build cars, extending the light of consciousness, as Elon likes to say. That bot's going to be crucial in developing and creating Mars spaces, right? Like bases on Mars and things like that. So, and on top of that, you have the safety concern that Elon has shared, and having control over that, I think, is something that he holds very dearly. So I think between all those things, Tesla's very much going to spend a lot of time, and Elon especially, in building teams and things so it can get them to be the world's leading AI company. Next one. What do you consider the greatest threat to Tesla? Ooh. So the threats I don't view as existential. I don't think Tesla has any existential threats right now. I think it's at a point now where, short of an earthquake that brings down every factory and Elon dies on the same day, I don't think Tesla goes under, but I think Elon's death, especially in the near term, will be very impactful. And that's one that I think about when I think about what can hurt Tesla. I do think the leadership structure is built in a way so that they will survive if he passes, but it will, in the short term, create a lot of pain for investors. But I do have confidence that over the long term, Tesla will still be able to build the things it's done, and they might fall a year behind their plan, but they'll still be ahead of everybody else. And the longer Tesla goes with Elon at the helm, that threat becomes smaller and smaller and smaller. So I would say that's it. Next comment. Bang out some crazy riffs at the end of one of your videos, and that will be good for another 1,000 or more subs easily. What would be really cool is to see a clean-cut engineer lay some extra gnarly and brutal riffs. Wow, okay. Well, I guess we'll just use that to end the video. Thank you very much, and enjoy.